just to let everybody know. And if you're uncomfortable with that, please make your own decision from there. We'll record this. We make these available later to those that joined, and then for colleagues as well as we go through. So this is another session in our Wide Format Wednesday series that we wanted to walk through today. And the topic today is going to be on soft signage. And we've got an exciting agenda. I think a couple of things that we're going to walk through today on soft signage is really a little bit of the market and our introduction of the new FabriVU 340i Plus, great new printer, but for the market that really addresses a lot of the market needs out there. We have a special guest as well, Victor from Barbieri, will come in and talk about a little bit about color measurement techniques that I think are critical in the soft signage area, that we think are critical in the soft signage area. And they're actually going to walk through the product itself up in from our Manchester or Londonderry, New Hampshire demo center, where we've actually got the 340 I Plus installed. We'll walk through that. So again, we appreciate your guys' time today. Please feel free to ask questions on the chat as we go. We'll answer them when we can. But these sessions are meant really for you guys to go through the topics. And if you have questions that come up along the way, again, please ask them. If we don't get to them during the presentation, we'll follow along afterwards. So my name's Dan Cernarich, and I work with all the team here at EFI on all the product areas, and I'm going to introduce Tiffany Bassan as well, from our Londonderry demo center to help walk through a couple of next slides. We've got a couple of slides to walk through on the market and then the product, and then we'll get into some other topics. So Tiffany, are we okay to go?
Yeah, absolutely, for sure.
Perfect. Because I think one of the things you and I talked about, and I, again, appreciate your time with this, is really kind of this idea of the soft signage market and where it's coming back. We're seeing a resurgence, I think, with where soft signage is, and really with
Absolutely.
the customers. Yeah, I think, and what I've heard from you is saying the customers are coming in looking for more productivity, bolder applications. They're just leveraging it more across the board, and it's being used in a variety of areas. So I don't know if you can expand on that to talk about some of the applications.
Yeah, of course, happy to. So as Dan mentioned, my name is Tiffany Bisson. Thank you everyone for joining. I'm the manager of the US-based Customer Experience Center here in Londonderry, New Hampshire. This is also our innovation center for new product development, as well as the ink development. So super exciting place to come in every day. As Dan mentioned, and as you guys can see on the slides here, soft signage really is coming back with a really tall, really big tailwind. So, as we're coming out of the pandemic here, sports events, concerts, trade show graphics, all of that stuff is all coming back with vengeance. So as you can see here, stretch fabric and exhibit graphics, obviously, shipping all of these materials to these trade show halls, if it's not with soft signage, if it's with traditional vinyl, of course you have to put it on a roll, and it ends up shipping freight and is very difficult to install. Soft signage and the textiles, these polyester fabrics, these flag fabrics, you fold them up, you stick them in a box, save a fraction of the cost, get them out more timely, and as you can see, really great vibrant graphics, really great color consistency, which I'll get into a little bit later. Murals with the combination of SEG as well. Both of those have really taken off with vengeance, because it's easier to ship and get to the facilities that they need to get to, but also can be installed and managed by the end user. They don't require installers any longer. So much easier to install, which then translates much easier to change out, right? So you can keep that advertising going and changing it out very frequently without having to worry about the cost as well as the install time and technical involvement with that install time. So much easier across the boards.
Yeah, and I think that's key, Tiffany, as we've heard from customers. Two things about it. You mentioned the shipping cost, just shipping materials around costs less. As we know, everything's going up in cost. So keeping things, shipping costs less, not only getting materials in, but then once they're produced, getting them out to wherever they need to be. There's a lot less cost when it comes to soft signage. And then that second
Yep,
area
absolutely.
is key, that the less labor to put it in, because finding labor today is difficult. So really what we see customers is kind of leaning into soft signage for that both of those, two of those reasons, but really the vibrancy, that the application range is there as well. So it just makes sense across the board.
Correct.
Yeah,
You want to go to the next slide?
yeah, I do.
So as I mentioned, concerts, backdrops, stage backdrops, or even smaller trade show booth graphics, like you can see there on the back left. Hanging banners and flags are a huge space right now, and I'll get into the technology behind it. But we have been incredibly successful leveraging some older technology with some brand new technology on the FabriVU Plus to be significantly more successful with backlets as well as flags. When it comes to penetration to the backside, you want as much penetration as possible, and historically that had to be an offline calendar. So we're able to get really, really great penetration through that backside. Greg and I will be showing you examples of that once we go live. And then retail fixture wraps. So historically, it used to be that you would have to print direct to a coroplast or a corrugated product. And then when you want to change the advertising, you have to change out that entire product. With this here, you can see you have your structure that will stay the same. The frame will stay the same, and you can just print and change out the wraps around that frame as frequently as you'd like. So you can really, push that advertising, push that marketing, again, very quickly and easily. Next slide. We are hosting a VIP event right here in Londonderry, New Hampshire, and we used our FabriVU to custom print table shrouds for all of our vendors who are attending the VIP event. So you can, again, very quickly and easily table throws, promotional tents, outdoor flags like you see there, change them out, keep them, reuse them, fold them up, put them away, take them out, steam them. Very, very easy, very efficient. Divisional graphics, of course, everybody was familiar with these. Hopefully we can start seeing go away here shortly. But the divisional graphics, again, you keep the frame, you keep that base, and then you can change out the wraps, again, as frequently or infrequently as you choose. Next slide. Again, just some more examples of different ways that you can utilize soft signage. The real key takeaway is going to be in, again, color consistency. It's going to be in that ease of use to ship and to install around the world. Again, leveraging high speed and high quality off of the FabriVU, as well as the vast applications, again, flags, backlets, frontlets. We have different types of suede materials that we've been dye sub to very successfully, different felts. So really, applications are limitless. Certainly utilize my team and I if there's something that you're specifically interested in. We can certainly produce some samples or do one-off demonstrations of the press afterwards as well.
Yeah, and that's key, because just like you said, Tiffany, there's customers that are trying new and different things all the time, and really the power, what we're going to talk about today, just the breadth of what you can do with the FabriVU, is really, almost limitless from what customers are trying to produce today. Could do it efficiently and effectively, but really leveraging soft signage across the board. Again, we see customers coming back and back to that as really something they need to offer in addition to what they do, or as a replacement to what they do already, getting more of their customer work in, because they have the ability to do soft signage work as well, along the way. So there's some great strengths to the printer that we're going to walk through here in a minute. But really, that application breadth is what's driving the customer demand out there, and really just leveraging it across the board. So doing things that are reusable in the material. It's easy to install. It's cheaper to ship. It's cheaper to move around, and you can still get all the color and the vibrancy you need from any of the print that's out there. It's a pretty exciting space that really is seeing a great resurgence. But with that, we have a lot of installs already out around the world, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that. So let me slide to the next slide, Tiffany, and let you keep going.
And just a reminder too, if there are any questions that you guys need to ask along the way, certainly put them in the Q&A as well. As you can see here from this slide, it's a little bit wordy. I won't go through all of it, but the FabriVU Plus series has been the FabriVU series alone has been wildly successful with more than 1,300 installs. It's a tremendous pairing of high quality, high speed at almost 2,000 square feet per hour, and the most competitive ink yield out there. Greg and I will talk about our ink capping station and how we're maintaining the print head so that you're not purging a lot. But also, EFI holistically, is the OEM of the hardware, but also the ink. So we're using a lower viscosity ink. So we're piling in more pigment per drop with less carrier. So you're able to really get a lot of that color that Dan and I had mentioned, a lot of that vibrancy using significantly less ink. So again, we'll cover that when we get onto the printer. We leveraged the decades-long success of the Reggiani line with our proven EFI engineering and brought to market an incredible solution for the soft signage market space, that being the new EFI 340i Plus. Next slide. So at EFI, we are continually innovating while leveraging and building on past product successes. We've had tremendous success doing this with the EFI hybrids. Some of you on the line, I see some familiar names, are familiar with our hybrid line. And now we're able to do that same sort of growth strategy with the FabriVU Plus. We took the strengths of the more than 250 installs locally, paired that with the ideas of our customers and our service and training teams, and now have an even better, highly leveraged soft signage solution. So the main deliverables for the FabriVU Plus, we wanted to address a couple of specific concerns or specific areas for improvement, opportunities to improve, if you will, from our standard FabriVU. We wanted to address high quality, band-free backlets, inline sublimation. We wanted to address inline fixation for overperforming calendar. We wanted to be able to improve our ability to successfully outgas inline, maintaining heat and utilizing a bit less energy. Combine that with aiming to improve our TCO. Obviously, that's going to be a competitive advantage. And then competitive productivity. I mentioned just south of 2,000 square feet per hour, and that's with sublimating inline. So very, very high quality, utilizing a Kyocera print head, but also very, very high speed with that inline die sub. So some key advantages, I won't touch on all of them. Again, if you want this access to the slide, I can certainly share with you afterwards, but extremely high ink yields. We've had some customers who literally the TCO is blown out of the water just on the ink savings alone. So we're not using a lot of ink, very, very high ink yields. As we mentioned, wide application range, high productivity in those print speeds. Our colors are absolutely amazing, in ink technology, but as you'll hear from our surprise guest here in a few minutes, the technology, the software that we're leveraging and pairing with Fiery XF is going to really be a competitive advantage for those vibrant colors. Industrial build. So we leveraged, like I said, the many decades long experience from the Reggiani out of Bergamo, Italy, just north of Milan. And they've been running super high speed, high volume textile presses for nearly 70 years. And we leverage that industrial build, that solid steel frame and that solid industrial build from that Reggiani platform. And we're utilizing it now here on the FabriVU Plus. Quick time to market, we address the very low TCO and color consistency. There's a slide coming up that really addresses that color consistency, but we're really managing that through media management and how we're controlling the inline sublimation process. So some key features on the FabriVU Plus, we've doubled our print head capability. So we're now running 8 Kyocera print heads. With a variable drop, so we have grayscale capability built into that print head, all driven with brand new EFI electronics and firmware. Anybody can run the Kyocera print heads. A big differentiator for us and a big leveraging part of our success is utilizing the EFI-based electronics. So we're really controlling how we're driving those print heads very differently than any of the other users out there, utilizing up to 2400 DPI. For the flag printing, you can see that we have, and we can dive into this when we get onto the press, but basically we have a very easy changeover when you're changing over to flag, how we're containing that ink, that's that blow through ink. And it's very efficient, very quick if you do need to change back and forth. And then you can see here in the bottom left, we have a symmetrical carriage. Again, technology leverage from the Reggiani platform. This is going to allow us really consistent color laydown pass to pass, because irregardless of carriage direction, left to right or right to left, we're laying the ink down in the same order in both directions. So we were able to really enhance, again, color consistency of those backlets, as well as all of our frontlets standard applications as well. Next slide. So this is something really, really amazing for the platform, introduced as part of the differentiating factor for the Plus. We now have an optional vacuum plate. So if you know in your business model, your day-to-day, some applications will be taken offline and calendared with an offline press. Some feedback that we had from those earlier installs of the standard FabriVU and the standard FabriVU I was that when you do try to add heavy ink loads to paper, to transfer paper, that you would see some potential for wrinkling in that print zone. So now we have, as you can see here, an optional vacuum table that inserts very easily into the platen, where we would normally have that catch basin for the blow through ink. So it sits in very quickly, very easily. One man, one woman operator can install it in about 10 to 15 minutes. So very easy if you need it to put it in, and very easy to take it off should you not need it. But again, it's an option available to the end users here. So we talked about very high speeds. Today, I think we're going to be running at about 1,700 square feet per hour for what you're seeing, because we are running on a backlit material, or is this a flag material, Greg?
Flag material.
All right, so we're going to be running 1791 on our flag. This material here, again, the focus is going to be on that penetration, but you can see here several different modes depending on what either your volume needs are or what your end application needs are. Next slide. So up here we talked about the ink yield, about 30% higher than some of the competitive equipment out there. We're looking at just north of 2,400 square feet per liter. And that math was based on the images that you see there. So we had an average, a good mixture of heavy coverage, light coverage, the flesh tones, the flowers, but also, just a good average of your standard everyday type of applications. And again, 2,400 square feet per liter. So really, really impressive. So what you're looking at here, nobody ever gives us at the demo center the easy stuff to run. So what we did, this customer put us up to a challenge where they wanted to run 65 meters length of material, a solid consistent blue that you're seeing there on the left. It was just a solid block of blue, and he asked us every 5 meters to do a left, right, center density reading to see what sort of shift there was in density across that 65 meters or 215 feet. And you can see that we never got higher than 1.12 delta shift, left, right, center, and then across that entire 65 meters or 215 feet. So human eye can start seeing a shift at 3. So to have a shift of 1 over that span is really, really impressive. And again, that's because of 2 really key technologies. It's the symmetrical carriage, as well as our heating element. And Greg and I can talk about how we're maintaining consistency of that heating element. So you can see here, it's a pretty easy slide to read. So you have one operator loading a FabriVU 340i, printing, inline dye sublimation, you take it off the printer and you bring it immediately to finishing. So it's one person touching it one time between loading raw material and cutting finished product. If you're taking it to an offline solution, you have an operator loading it to a press, printing it, operator taking it off the press, driving it over to the calendar. You load it to the calendar. Calendar requires liter. You have to dial it in. You have to get it warmed up. You have to cool it down at the end of the day. And then you take it off to finishing. So it's adding additional steps. It's adding additional opportunities to introduce error. It's also consuming a bit more material because all of those individual steps require a liter and a trail. And it looks, and again, you can have that all completed in line. All right, so I know we're running long here, so I'll speed up through these next couple of slides. So this is us against our biggest competitor, and basically we're looking at our ability for those backlights. So you can see here, these are two swatches put on a light table. You can see on the right-hand side that really vibrant, rich, dense black that we're getting off of the 340i Plus. Next slide. So with this one here, you're going to have the shipping costs that we addressed. Dan, you can go ahead and click through those automations. So you can see that we shipped 2 packages from Spain to Madrid, about 280 miles with sublimation versus UV LED. Fold it up, stick it in a bag. It can get there faster and cheaper than having to put it in a large box, maybe potentially ship it freight. And then if you look at the next slide, Dan, you can go ahead through the automations again. This one here we actually did in-house. And same wall mural, we shipped it from Londonderry here to our home base in California. Again, with sublimation folded at 13 pounds in a tube was 25 pounds. Shipping time and cost savings, about a 370% savings. I mean, that is just an absolute no-brainer. So like I was saying, that TCO really pays it off or clears the way for itself pretty quickly. Next slide. Again, we'll talk about this a little bit deeper, but we have an unbelievable partnering and collaboration with really high value vendors that are proven in the field. So you can see there are a bunch of different media vendors, obviously the built-in technology of the Fiery XF RIP, and then plenty of finishing solution partners that we can certainly hook you up with as well if you need it. Go ahead. This here you can see just a growth strategy. We mentioned growth strategy in the hybrids as well as our roll-to-roll. Now we have a really great offering for that soft signage and fabric. Starting with the 180, a couple of different versions of the 340. We have, of course, the I and the Plus. We have the 5 meter. And then as you get into super high speed and some more of your naturals, we have the colors and the powers as well. Again, just another overview of everything that we've talked about. Highest resolution, industrial builds, very high quality and productivity, the lowest TCO out there, and a wide variety of applications.
Perfect. Thanks, Tiffany. With that, we want to, I'm going to switch it over to Victor. So Victor, I'm making you presenter right now. For anybody on the phone or online, please, if you have any questions, please go ahead and ask them in. Victor, the stage is yours.
Okay. Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Tiffany and Adriana, for inviting me. I'm Victor, Business Development Manager at Barbieri. For those who don't know us, we are a company from Italy making color measurement instruments. And in the next minutes, I'm going to talk about color. So let's get started. All right. So I'm going to talk about accurate color measurement in digital signage printing. If you then have any question, maybe at the end of the session, we have time to nail a few of those questions. So let's get started. As we heard before, there are many different applications in signage printing. There is backlit printing, banner printing, signs, textiles such as flags, to name a few. So overall, digital signage printing offers a variety of different applications, different printable materials, and printable colors. This leads to a challenge, which is obtaining accurate color results throughout all of these different applications. So what are the reasons for variation of color results in digital signage printing? There are different applications or combination printer material and ink, which require different production workflow and maybe a different pre or post treatment. And all of this leads to a different color gamut or the amount of printable colors. So let's have a look at the examples, and this is from textile printing. You see a variety of applications here, so let's pick two. And you immediately spot that the gamut on the left side is smaller than on the right side. So this, of course, does not mean that one application is better than another. It's just different. And you see there are different possibilities to print color on one application. So how can we even obtain this color gamut graph? We need a material with the printed color charts on it, and we need measurement technology or spectrophotometers. What are the components involved in color reproduction? We need a digital file or an image, for instance. We need a RIP software using ICC profiles, and we have our digital printers. The spectrophotometer ties in as it captures the spectral data from the output of the digital printer and feeds back this information to the RIP software, to the profiling software, and the software then is able to create very accurate, high accurate ICC profile. This software, for instance, can be the EFI VUTek software. So let's have a look why there are so many variations. Let's have a look at reflective substrates. What are the characteristics of reflective materials and why do they affect measurement data? There's, for example, paper-like material, banner or vinyl. And there is, for example, structured material like textiles, PVC boards, and so on and so on. Well, some of these materials might have optical brighteners in it. Some materials might be glossy. Some ink behaves differently than other ink. The surface or the structure of materials vary. The pre and post treatment is different, and the overall production process. So all of this means challenges for color measurement. Let's have a closer look at a textile material. I have here a very elastic one. So first point, you see the structure. There are many lines, wovens, so with this uneven surface, it's not so easy for a measurement device. In fact, it's a challenge. Same thing here, you see the distortion. Some material are very elastic, which is also not easy to measure. Then there is the mounting. You see here some textile material is very hard to mount, but also imagine when you have thicker material, which is also not always easy to put on a measurement device. And furthermore, fibers from the material, from the surface might pollute the measurement device and cause misreadings. And then what about transmissive substrates, such as backlit materials? So prints on glass or similar transparent, translucent material are special. And the reason is because the printed image will be illuminated from behind. So why in this case we do need to do transmissive measurements? Because the final application and illumination defines the measurement mode. So if the final application is illuminated from the back, then we also need to read transmissive measurement mode. Let's have a look at some practical examples. You see here a storefront on the left side. It's backlit material viewed at day in bright environment, but with the illumination from the front. In that case, reflective measurement mode is the correct one. On the right side, we have backlit material viewed at day under daylight, but illuminated at night with backlit. In that case, we need to create a profile with the transmissive measurement mode. So measuring transmissive media means that the physical light source is on the backside of the material during the measurement. Here an example from Barbieri. You see the lamp is on the bottom. The media, in that case the glass, is between, and above there's the measuring head with the spectral sensor in it. This means there's a calibrated light source at the bottom of the device, and the measuring head receives the value on top of the media. And one thing to always pay attention, beware of stray light from neighbor patches, which is a challenge for measurement devices and can in fact cause misreadings if not handled correctly. Now let's have a quick look at Barbieri's solution. You should see the device in the small screen already ready on the right side. It's a Spectro LFP-QB, which combines universality and precision with a broad range of features for color measurement in digital printing. In fact, you can measure automatically a broad range of materials such as textiles, glass, backlit film, paper, vinyl, silk, PVC, cardboard, and so on and so on. So a variety of possibilities to measure with this device. Now I want to show you a quick video how it actually works, measurement process. So you see here, you need a printed color chart. In that case, I have a paper material. It's placed on a sample holder. And all we need to do is press start in the software. And now the device automatically does its measurement process. Here you see it checks the height of the material. So remember, when you measure different material, maybe one day you measure textiles, the next day you go to PVC boards, it's always important to have the right sample holder because every material has different challenges. So once the height is clear, the measurement device looks in fully automatic for the coordinates. And when that process is done, it starts reading automatically. For instance, if you use the EFI VUTeK software, this device is perfectly supported. So all you need to do is run your current workflow and you choose, for example, the Spectro LFP-QB to measure a variety of different materials, such as, for example, textiles. So that's the measurement process. And to sum this chapter up, color can vary it on different printers and applications because different material causes challenges for measurement devices. Dedicated color measurement device, spectrophotometer, deals with those challenges and guarantees color accuracy. So thank you for your attention. For my part, if you need more information about our solutions, want to look it up, this is our website. You can always contact me directly. Here are my contact details. And with that, thank you again. And back to Dan for the webinar.
Yeah, Victor, thanks for the time. I'm going to shift it over to Tiffany. There was a question that came in, Victor, for you as we do that. Is can the Barbieri swing be used for fabrics? That came in as a question.
So the Spectro LFP-QB has a very important feature, which is it comes with different measurement apertures. So it can automatically switch from a small to a large measurement aperture. And if we are in textile printing, we always recommend to use a large 6 or even better the 8mm measurement aperture, just to have more accurate readings. So I would say Spectra LFP-QB is the right choice in that case.
All right, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, Tiffany, you've got the presentation now, and
yeah, if you want to lock on me.
Yep.
On the printer.
We want to do that. Okay, that should be it. I've got the seeing the Barbieri, I think, on your view.
Correct, but can you lock my video to the stage? Right now I'm just looking at your beautiful face.
Oh, nice. Nobody wants to do that. Let me see how. Yeah, I don't know. Let me just turn off my video. Let me start there. See that. I don't see that. Should get started and see if I can get it from here.
Yeah, and if you want to make me host, I can just do it real quick.
Yeah, let me just do that. No, I'm recording, so hold on.
All right, well, we can go ahead and get started. And for those of you on the line, if you do click on the video of the Barbieri, you can say move to stage, and then turn off active speaker. So that would make the video the larger. So what you are looking at right now is the Barbieri. Greg, can you talk us through maybe what you were working on? I had it running in the background while Victor was giving his presentation, but if you want to just talk about what you're using the Barbieri for in this instance.
Sure. Just to pretty much echo what Victor's presentation was all about, is we are printing on a flag fabric here today. Currently, I don't have a dedicated color profile for this fabric. So in this case, I'm using a different flag fabric profile. Although you might get pleasing color from this, you're not getting the most accurate color or ink usage on this material until you do a specific profile for that material. And in this case, I'm using the Barbieri LFP-QB, and I'm in the midst of creating a profile for this exact fabric. So we'll get the proper ink density, the ink usage, the color reproduction tuned right in for that fabric using the Barbieri products.
So Greg, we are running the press right now, as you can see. Can you maybe talk us through what that material is and what the application is? The reason I say that is because there was a question that came in online wondering about how we run flag. So we are running flag right now. Can you tell us what went into setup for that?
Sure. So yeah, this is a flag fabric, and being a flag fabric, it is somewhat porous. So we are spraying a liquid ink on. And I think what Tiffany may be referring to, or maybe our customer, is you are going to get some blow through of ink through your fabric. So in our printing platen that you see right here where the carriage is passing, you are getting a little bit of residual ink blown through. So what EFI has is there's a channel underneath the fabric itself. And what we have is a felt cloth. It's maybe 30-second thick. That actually rolls out and clips underneath the fabric. So there's a cushion of air in between that, and this simply catches any residual ink that might be there. When I'm done printing for the day, that ink will dry. I could simply put another fabric on. It never is making contact with the fabric. There are two rails that keep the printing fabric suspended over this collection felt.
I'll go ahead and zoom in on that as well. We'll talk about some of the EFI specific technologies that we've used for the inline sublimation. Like we mentioned, symmetrical carriage. You can see the print heads there. We are utilizing a magnetic linear drive, giving us a nice smooth transition of that carriage, giving us really precise drop placement at those higher speeds. We are printing direct and sublimating inline. Greg, can you talk us through some of the advancements that we've made for the inline sublimation?
Sure. So Tiffany was referring to the heater element and how we were achieving consistent color from edge to edge on fabrics on the old FabriVU platform. Well, the heating element on the legacy FabriVU product was heated by IR lamps. Now what Reggiani and EFI engineers had gone back and looked at, and they said, how can we find something that's has a much longer longevity, isn't a replaceable product, and heats more consistently? And what they've come up with is a heated metal plates, referred to as mycol plates. So these are heated panels, and they're arranged on each edge of the sheet, and there's an array in the center. And now that allows us to get consistent heat right across that heat platen. So the color accuracy and consistency we were getting before has just been exponentially increased. I have separate heating sensors on each edge of the sheet, and those can be fine-tuned to just keep absolute color consistency from the outer edge to the other outer edge.
And I see here, Greg, that we are printing a bunch of different images. Some of them do have a bit of text. How are we maintaining edge fidelity and taking care of that outgassing that inherently happens in that sublimation process?
Sure. So in the sublimation process, we are taking the ink that, if you zoom in, it does appear to look very chalky and pastelish, you know, in color and density on the top. When that hits that heater and it heats to a certain point, that ink is then turning to a gas. That gas is chemically bonding with polyester fibers. So what's going on is you do have that gassing going on. There is an exhaust portion of that process. So what EFI has done is we have a vacuum extracting unit running, and with several of our competitors, our other products are pulling that off gas from one end of the press, and it pulls directly across the sheet. That can cause some loss of a sharp edge fidelity, as Tiffany refers to, your loss of sharpness of your type, fine detail in your image quality. Well, what EFI has done is created a chambered extraction manifold that you see here. So the vacuum of the extraction unit is actually pulling all that off-gas product straight off the front of the sheet. So there's no travel across the fabric whatsoever, other than being pulled directly from the fabric. And that is an EFI innovation. Can't hear you, Tiffany.
There we go. Sorry about that. That's going to lend itself to, again, multiple different types of applications, because you can maintain edge fidelity, you know, barcoding as needed, you know, reverse and positive text, you know, quite small. But you can see here the quality, the color, and this is actually taking up, this is the backside of the print. So this is the backside of the flag, like I mentioned, giving you that really great penetration onto the backside.
Right. And in this case, this is where the color profile is key, to make sure that we're putting enough ink down without over inking the material and as a customer wasting ink.
Now, keeping in line with ink usage, and we talked a lot about that on the TCO, Greg, before we run out of time here, can you open up the capping station so we can talk about the printhead spa?
Sure. So as this is printing, you can see here on the left, this is what Tiffany's referring to as our printhead spa. Not a listed EFI term, but it is a shallow reservoir. It contains distilled water, and it's no more than a ½ inch deep or 2 centimeters, if you'd like. That gets filled every day by the operator. I have a drain system, and I'm just draining into a 5-gallon container underneath. I'll simply rinse that out. I'll fill that with distilled water, and when the press is not in use or a print is then done, there's nothing more than a rubber grommet. That carriage will come back. It will dial down to seal against the grommet, and it keeps those aqueous print heads, those Kyocera heads, in that humid environment. So it allows us to keep our jets open. Nothing seems to dry out. You don't lose nozzles. So it makes it very easy to maintain from an operator perspective.
And that spa means you're purging less because we're keeping those nozzles open longer. That open time is significantly longer than some of the other traditional inkjet printers. Greg, I'm going to go ahead and switch the camera over to this amazing backlit that you had pre-printed for us. So what we can see here, ignoring the vertical from the lights, you can see how rich and how dense that black is, while not losing any structure of that black, right? So you could lose a lot of detail by oversaturating or not having the appropriate profile. Again, that's where it's so hypercritical to have the good pairing of the software and the Barbieri, so you can create that profile that gives you as much density, as much saturation, as much color as possible, utilizing the least amount of ink.
That's right. And in fact, if you look at the black image itself, it's very nuanced with subtleties in your shadow and your 3/4 tone. Without the proper color profile, that all that definition, all that detail will become blocked in, and you will end up losing quite a bit of that detail. So that's where color profiling and color management, proper color management, is key.
And Greg, I'm going to pan over now to these prints that you have on the floor. Can you talk us through maybe just one or two of them?
Sure. So what we see here is this is actually the flag fabric that I'm printing right now. So if you can see, we are getting good penetration and color density on the back side of the sheet. This is an Aberdeen fabric, an American fabric supplier, a very good partner of EFI. And this is their Duramax flag fabric. So it's a little bit of heavier weight. It's durable, made for good longevity in your outdoor flag environment. And to the right of that is a frontlet. So being not a porous stock like a flag fabric, you even get more fidelity, more color. So this is our frontlet, and as you can see, the gamut from CMYK ink set on the FabriVU is just outstanding. As you can see, as bright of a yellow, your reds, everything can really pop with our inks.
Our inks, and then again, that perfect pairing of a really good strong profile, right?
That's correct.
All right, Dan, I know we're running low on time. As we pop around back to the front of the press, are there any questions that we can address?
Yeah, let me see if I don't see any questions right now, but feel free to ask them in the. There was one, I think you hit the flag option, and then there was the second part of that, the dual roll option. Is there a dual roll option on the machine? That was asked as well. I can't remember if we answered that.
No, there is not a dual roll option, namely because of the challenges that you would face with textile and stretch and shrink and things of that nature. So at this time, no, we do not support a dual roll option on the FabriVU Plus.
Mm-hmm. Good. Any other questions? Feel free to add them into the chat as we go in. I don't see any right now, or the Q&A section in there. We appreciate everybody's time coming through. So what we wanted to we wanted to make sure we covered today is that, you know, as we talked about earlier, soft signage market is continuing to see a resurgence. We think with this paired with
Load,
the
yeah.
with the 340i plus, it's a great product to introduce at this time, right? For that, it's got a lot of additional features. And then the reason we wanted to walk through with the Barbieri and thank Victor for his time is the expertise on production, right? Fiery XF and the RIP, as well as other tools. We've got that as well to help you with all of the your solution to make sure that you're getting the right things out, solutions out to your customers. There is a question that says, what pass are you currently printing at right now that came in, Tiffany or Craig?
This is a 3-pass, which would normally be our standard application for high quality. That would be mostly the application, primarily the majority of our customers are using.
And that's just north of 1,700 square feet per hour.
It is.
Yeah. So even in our high quality mode, which historically, you know, when you say it's a high quality mode, would be a pretty slow mode. It's actually our go-to mode for volume and for production, because we at 1,700 square feet per hour, I mean, is plenty fast for most of our customers out there.
Good. Other questions, and that's important as we walk through that, because that variety, that productivity, you know, it's you know, more productive than things that are out on the market, higher ink yield. So I mean, it fits, it checks all the boxes on making sure that you can produce effectively, efficiently, and profitably. And then the soft signage itself checks all the boxes for the customers on making sure they can do things the same way, you know, efficiently and profitably. So if that, I don't see any other questions or the light coming in. Oh wait, maybe there's some in the Q&A.
See, yeah, there are a few.
Yeah, you want to?
I don't know.
Can't see them for some reason.
Do you get any issues with excess ink rubbing off the finished print after curing?
Yeah, so that we call that what, crocking? Is that
Crocking.
Crocking, yes. So we have variable controls over temperatures and speeds that will allow you to appropriately outgas that jetted ink. And is that something that can be saved and stored so you're not having to remember?
All those settings can be saved. So in that case, and this as well comes in where color profiling is important, because although I can put more ink down, I'm going to reach a point where that color is not going to get any darker, even though I'm adding ink to the color profile. You want to have that fine tuned, and then it's just a matter of getting the proper speed and, like Tiffany said, the right amount of heat. And what you want is, you don't want any residual ink. You want all that ink sublimated into the polyester, and then it can simply be cut off and packed in a bag and shipped.
Yep. But you're going to manage that crocking or that rub off by making sure that you have the right amount of ink, and then you're outgassing as much of that carrier as possible.
Perfect. And then there was another question about venting for the off gas, or the requirements for the venting for off gas.
Yeah, actually, we didn't touch upon that. This up here is not required, is not standard with the FabriVU. I have it because we are in a customer-facing environment and get all kinds of crazy materials to test. We just want to make sure that it's not invasive for our visiting customers. But a piece of equipment that does come with the FabriVU and is a requirement is the extraction unit. So over in the back there, you can see that industrial looking, almost looks like an industrial
Silver box.
So you can see the extraction hose. So we are pulling the extracted gas out from the right-hand side of the press. You can see the tubing there. We have a glycol separator immediately in line. And then next we have the extraction unit. So that is going to contain a series of filters that do need to be changed and are a maintenance consumable item. That is going to extract the outgases and filter them through that system there.
Perfect. And then another question came in is, is there an option to reuse the purged ink?
So the print heads are recirculated, and we are reutilizing most of the ink if you are in a situation that you need to purge, we do reuse most of that purged ink double plumbed right back to the print head. So it'll get degassed and then sent back through the, put back right into your main holding tanks.
Excellent. Good. And how does the glycol separator work?
Okay, so glycol would be your main byproduct from the sublimation process. So when Tiffany and I had this this extraction unit, the extraction manifold shown, there is a small trap, and if you wanted to zoom, see if I could bring the camera in, there are small traps within that manifold that have dips in them. And there's nothing more but little check valves here. So maybe at the end of the day, at the end of the week, an operator would remove the fabric. I'll do nothing more than put some paper cups under there. I'll open up those traps and collect any residual glycol that may be building up. When Tiffany showed you the extraction unit, there's an extraction hose. We've got a condenser in between. I've got nothing but a cut milk jug underneath. And once again, that condenses a lot of that residual glycol to keep that from going into your filter, into that filter system, and improves the longevity of those replaceable filters by getting some of that out. And that's nothing but a simple maintenance process, maybe on a weekly, bi-weekly basis for an operator.
That milk jug is not a standard feature, is what you're saying.
It is not.
Good. Let me see if there's any other questions that come in. I don't see any now, but feel free to ask them in. Oh, there's let's see. We're right at the top of the hour, so again, we'll give everybody another minute or so. But appreciate your time. This is recorded. Somebody somebody asked about that, so we'll post that out. And we appreciate your time and any feedback we get on this as well. So these sessions, again, our next series we'll have is next webinar is on June 22nd, and we've got a session on trends in wide format with a special guest from IT Strategies to present. So we'll have that there. With that, I think we'll wrap up today's session. I don't see any other final questions that come in. We appreciate everybody's time. Oh, there was one final question. What's the length of the material used that's loaded on the machine? So like the length.
Setup, or what's?
Question is, what is the length of the material used to load the machine? So probably how much? Yeah.
Yep. So if you're starting from scratch, Greg, and versus if you're tying one material to the next. And
so starting from scratch, I'm probably going to lose about, I would say 90 inches from, and that's from the point of the print zone, web through and onto the block.
About 90 inches.
Okay.
So on the tail end, if I were running another fabric, I simply cut tails, cut lengths of fabric, and I simply tie those together to pull that other fabric through. And in that case, you'll lose 90 inches on the front edge of that other fabric as well.
Perfect. All right. That was the final question. We're right at the top of the hour. We do appreciate everybody's time. Feel free to ask them later. If there are questions that come up, we'll still take them in there. But we do appreciate everybody's time today. Thank you for this. And again, we'll get this posted and get you information on our next sessions as well. Feedback, as always, is welcome on all of these sessions. So with that, thank you. We'll end today's presentation.